Their names most of us have never heard of, usually too big to pronounce and equally confusing in description. Rare diseases, some whose prevalence isn't even known, others that have no cure. The disease you're about to be introduced to is both. And what's most alarming is many doctors haven't heard of it either. As Mike Drolet tells us, it all leads to dangers in diagnosis.
I was mad, I was scared. Whatever this is, cure it so I can move on. I mean, I don't like being in the hospital.
I continued to get worse, and the medication was supposed to be helping me, and it wasn't.
I kept throwing up, I couldn't keep my food down, and I started to get really thin, and nobody could find anything that's wrong with me, right?
It's a living hell, it definitely is.
Carla Weller's life changed forever, without warning, in early July 2009.
I started throwing up. I didn't feel well, I was weak.
She went to her local clinic in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Doctors checked her out. They didn't think it was serious. They gave her stomach medication.
They sent me home with a special diet and some stomach pills. I was waiting for my stomach to settle so I could eat and swallow and not throw up.
But that night, Carla took a sudden and frightening turn.
By the next day, my right leg was numb. The day after that, my left foot was numb, and then that's when we went to the emergency room.
The numbness spread rapidly. Within hours, Carla could barely move.
By the time I was out of the emergency room, I was paralyzed from the waist down. So within a 48-hour period, after the throwing up, I was paralyzed. It was very surreal. I thought within a couple of days I was going to wake up and I'd have the use of my legs back.
The diagnosis was multiple sclerosis. Lisa Morrison has a story that is eerily similar. Back in 1991 in Niagara Falls, Ontario, she was 21, the picture of health, and carving through life on blades.
I played hockey twice a week, ringette twice a week, very active. Just wasn't at home, you know what I mean? I was doing everything.
But then Lisa started getting severe headaches.
I played hockey and I had a really bad headache, enough to keep me off the ice. So that wasn't normal.
The headaches soon turned into painful attacks.
The first time it was only 3 days, and then the next one was 10 days. And then from there they progressed, and then the last one I was confined to a wheelchair.
5 months later, February 1992, Lisa was blind in one eye. By March, the other eye went. Then she went numb from the waist down. The diagnosis, same as Carla, multiple sclerosis.
Things went really crazy, attack after attack after attack after attack.
It was a confusing and frustrating time. Lisa didn't respond to the medication for MS, but her doctors refused to budge, convinced the diagnosis was right.
I was on 2 different medications for the MS. Neither of them worked.
For the next 17 years, Lisa took thousands of pills tailored specifically to treat MS.
Should we scoot your hips back, or do you want to lay down right away? I want to lay down. Okay.
Back in Wisconsin, doctors treated Carla for MS as well. Weeks of hospitalization turned into months. Slowly, Carla got some movement back.
I had spent a month in the hospital, and then I spent a month in a rehab center learning to reuse my legs, and it was a slow process. I was able to bear weight on my left leg, and I was able to actually take a step with my left leg, and they sent me home.
But Carla was home for only 48 hours when it hit her again.
And that's when I got a second opinion from a specialist.
And that's when she got the news. She didn't have MS at all. She had a disease called NMO. Neuromyelitis optica, also known as Devick's disease, is a crippling autoimmune condition that attacks the eyes and spine. It can lead to numbness, paralysis, blindness, even death. It's called an orphan disease because it's so rare.
Most physicians in the world are never going to see a case of neuromyelitis optica.
But Dr. Benjamin Greenberg has. In fact, he's seen hundreds. He's one of the top NMO specialists in the world, treating patients at his clinic in Dallas, Texas.
We don't want to have viruses or bacteria invading our body. So the immune system is our line of defense against that. Sometimes that defense gets confused and thinks your optic nerve or spinal cord is a foreign invader, and that's when we get an NMO attack.
And for the people who get them, those attacks are devastating. Carla's condition got so bad at one point she lost feeling in her arms and was classified a quadriplegic.
My arms were perfectly fine before, nothing wrong with them at all. And now, I mean, I suffer from pain with them every day, and my hands feel frostbitten every day.
But Carla was lucky. Doctors figured out within months, not years, that she had NMO. And with the right cocktail of drugs, Carla started to get better.
Now they call me a incomplete paraplegic because I can feel. My body feels very uncomfortable 100% of the time, but I do feel it. I can move my left leg. I will go again. I'll go again later.
Lisa Morrison wasn't so lucky. For almost 2 decades, Lisa's doctors treated her for the wrong disease. Now Lisa is legally blind. She can't move around without a walker or on bad days, a wheelchair.
I feel I've been robbed and cheated out of a lot of things. It's cost me my vision, for one thing. Ah, there you go. I could be in a different place right now had they made the right diagnosis.
You said you had about 75 to 100 patients here. How many of them were misdiagnosed originally?
Almost all. The overwhelming majority of our NMO patients will originally get an alternate diagnosis. The most common one being multiple sclerosis. It's incredibly frustrating for the people who've been misdiagnosed, the families of people who've been misdiagnosed, the physicians who focus on these rare diseases, who from our perspective think it was plain as day what the diagnosis was. How could this be missed?
But it is missed all the time. Dr. Greenberg has found about 1 in 100 MS patients at his clinic actually have NMO. But some studies show even higher numbers, as high as 10%. That means every time a new patient is diagnosed with MS, there's a chance they'll get treatment for the wrong disease. There's a reason for the confusion. NMO symptoms can look a lot like MS, and for years symptoms were the only way to diagnose the disease. Then 15 years ago, a big breakthrough for NMO came when researchers discovered an autoantibody in NMO blood samples.
So it's a simple blood test.
You check the box, send the blood, get a result.
A simple blood test that's 80% effective, so not quite a guarantee, but it could have saved Lisa and hundreds like her years of pain and agony.
If you know about it, if you know what to look for, you can catch it.
The majority, overwhelming majority of the time. And you can treat it.
But many doctors still don't know about the disease or the test to diagnose it, a test that didn't exist when Lisa first fell ill. Her doctors guessed wrong and gave her medication for the wrong disease.
Scan documents, Windows shell view.
I feel that the meds that they gave me for the multiple sclerosis did more harm than good.
Next, how one California teenager
This disease is not who I am.
changed the world of NMO.
Beverly Hills, California. $1-million homes, palm trees, and endless blue skies. It's the place where dreams are made. It's where we met Allie Guthie, a California teen, if there ever was one, full of energy and excitement.
Woohoo! I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm just looking towards going to school in the fall and being with my friends and playing tennis, and if you dwell on the what ifs in life, then you're not going to really see what's happening now.
But Allie's wrist carries some heavy reminders of those what ifs.
The blue one, it represents my classmate that passed away this January. He fell riding a skateboard. He wasn't wearing a helmet. This red one is for one of my friends on the boys tennis team, was just diagnosed with bone cancer this year. And finally the green, that's me, NMO.
Allie was in 8th grade when she first started feeling the symptoms.
I kept throwing up, I couldn't keep my food down, and I started to get really thin, and nobody could find anything that's wrong with me, right?
Then, a year later, at the age of 14, she began losing sight in her left eye. Doctors ordered a blood test.
As he was checking off the list of blood tests, there was one called NMO, neuromyelitis optica, and I go, oh, what's that for? And he goes, oh, don't worry, she's not gonna have that, and that would be really bad.
But that blood test came back positive.
And what did they say to you?
Your daughter has NMO, neuromyelitis optica. It's been confirmed by the Mayo Clinic. You probably have 4 years before she'll either not be with you or she'll be blind and paralyzed, quadriplegic. I was like, what? You're telling me I'm not gonna have my daughter in 4 years?
But it's safe to say that doctor had no clue who he was talking to. This mom wasn't going to sit by and watch her daughter go blind or die.
I've been in the beauty business for over 20 years.
Meet Toria Jackson, a high school dropout who started a cosmetics company in her garage. Most famous for being queen of the infomercials, now she's the face of the fight against NMO.
I'm definitely a warrior. I'm a survivor. I'm a person who just, you pick yourself up and you just go and you just do it.
Warrior, all right. Victoria took Allie's diagnosis to the top NMO doctors in the U.S.
I said, I'm a woman with a checkbook and brains, and you and I are going to be working together, and we're going to try to find a cure for NMO.
Victoria sold one of her companies, put the other one in park, and created the Toria Jackson Foundation with her husband, Bill Guthey, the owner of the company that sells Proactive.
How much money have you put into this over the last 4 years?
I've put millions and millions and millions of dollars, and there will be millions and millions and millions of dollars more that goes into it.
And that's real, millions and millions of their own money to find a cure. But Victoria wasn't going to just hand the money over.
They know that I write the checks, but it really has to be a collaborative, everybody's working together. Because unless everybody works together, you're not going to find cures for anything in the world. It's just not going to happen.
Sounds simple. Work together to find a cure. But the world of medical research doesn't work that way. In fact, in the race to be the first to discover a treatment or cure, research facilities keep most advances secret. It's called the silo effect, and it means you have a bunch of different research facilities all working on the same thing, yet not talking to one another and not sharing their findings. Well, in Toria Jackson's world, that kind of secrecy doesn't cut it. Research centers in Rochester, Minnesota, Baltimore, Dallas, San Francisco, Montreal, the UK, and Japan all focused on NMO. And if they've taken a dime of Toria Jackson money, they have to share their findings so that the next researcher can move the ball forward.
I want all of them to come to the table and sit down, and that is what's actually occurring.
And her My Money, My Rules approach worked. Now NMO researchers from around the world gather and share advances. That's put NMO research years ahead of where it might be.
Realistically, if you hadn't come along, would anybody be working on this?
Nobody would be working on this.
So one mother's common sense approach to finding answers to save her child's life is now changing the world of medical research.
For whatever reason, the universe has served this up. I just know that I have a mission, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to stop until I find the answer.
What's it like having your mother as a mother?
She inspires me to do better every day, to help other people. My little bag here, I keep all my stuff. I have little packets every day.
So a fight for a daughter's life revolutionized the world of medical research, and that, if Toria Jackson has anything to do with it, will change the lives of countless others.
I wish they would have made the right diagnosis in the beginning, but we can't go back. I have to just try to get past it and deal with what I've got now.
Eventually, when I am walking again, I will be a different person.
This disease is not who I am. It's not going to affect what I do, what I want in life. And, you just got to keep a positive attitude.
Next, making sweet music.